Alright everyone, welcome to Tuesday's video. Yesterday was obviously a pretty big day for the channel. Thank you so much to the many of you who have signed up for extra videos and audio only podcast of my videos and a few other perks as well. It's massively appreciated and will help the channel to grow, and we're going to have a lot of fun going forwards. Right, okay, today Celtic chat. Yes. A few things to discuss as we edge closer to the weekend and Sunday, specifically against Kilmarnock. How are we all feeling about competitive football returning? How are you all feeling about potentially going to Celtic Park if you do indeed have a ticket? I just can't wait to get back into the action, the 3 points and all of that kind of competitive stuff. It's been a kind of quite a long close season, even though we've had the Euros. It's been a bit of a strange one. I don't know if that's because Scotland went out so early or I don't know, has it actually been a longer pre-season? Did the season finish a bit earlier last season? Has it just been the lack of transfer activity that has made things drag in? Yeah, it could potentially be that. At least from Sunday we're going to have games to look forward to, and I think we've all got a pretty good feeling about Celtic on the pitch at the moment. Certainly off the pitch, it's still more of the same. Nothing's really happening. In fact, sadly, there's more chat at the moment about players potentially leaving the club than coming in. We had the Rio Hatate stuff yesterday. Don't expect Rio Hatate to leave this summer. Certainly not if Matt O'Riley moves on. Matt O'Riley is obviously at the centre of all of these things. More speculation about him potentially leaving. Southampton seem pretty intent on signing him. They're managed by Russell Martin. He has the link from MK Dons where he worked with Matt O'Riley. I don't know how you feel about this. Obviously, we all want Matt O'Riley to stay. I think if he is going to leave this summer, I kind of hope it's to a better team than Southampton. When you look at like Atletico Madrid and Inter Milan and like Atalanta, these are kind of quite glamorous European names, and I think if he ends up going to Southampton, it'll be a bit of an anticlimax, even though they have the lure of Premier League football. I also would quite like us to, if Matt O'Riley is going to move on, he's obviously going to move on at some stage, to sell to a big club to prove that players can leave Celtic to go to major European clubs, and also for him to go for 30 million. I think that's what we should be looking for Matt O'Riley. I think he's that good and he has a long contract at the club and all of these things that go in our favour, because I think it's all about just pushing that upper limit of what Celtic can get for selling a player. The thought of us getting 25 million for a player 10 years ago would have been pretty unthinkable when we were losing Van Dijk and Wanyama and Forster, all to Southampton, by the way, for like 12, 13 million. Now we're looking at double that and hopefully more for Matt O'Riley. I know it's lovely chat talking about players leaving. The reason I'm mentioning this, the latest report that comes from a tweet from Sun journalist Jack Rosser, with the second half of the tweet reading, talks continuing on Matt O'Riley, Shea Charles going the other way to Celtic on loan with an option being discussed. So Shea Charles, a new name. He was signed by Southampton 12 months ago from Manchester City for £10.5 million, potentially rising to 15 million. As part of the deal, The Athletic reported that Man City retained a sell-on clause, a buy-back clause, and matching bid rights for Charles too. Now, in his season last year, he played 32 times for Saints as they finished 4th in the Championship, came up through the playoffs. He didn't play in the playoff final and actually missed a few games near the end of the season, was an unused sub at that stage, and I think that's been the case in this pre-season as well. So there's obviously a reason that Russell Martin wants to sign Matt O'Riley, and it's a bit of a strange one, to be honest. It's clear that Southampton aren't able to pay what we want for Matt O'Reilly, so they're wanting to throw in other players. And without knowing much about Shea Charles, I would much rather, if O'Reilly is and has to leave this summer, it's for the kind of fee that I just spoke about, at least 25 million. I think we hold all the cards here, and it's up to another club to pay what we think he's worth and what we all know he's worth. And if that doesn't happen, then I think we'd all love Matt O'Reilly to stay for another season. And I don't think you're going to have any issues with Matt O'Reilly. You see the way he started this season. He's arguably kicked on again from how he was last year. And he's got so much potential, and he's if he doesn't get his move this summer, I think we're going to see the best of Matt O'Reilly again this season. So I don't actually think there's much reason to panic. Having said that, I'm just praying that the window goes by and we don't get any sort of big offer for O'Reilly. Because you kind of know the minute we get that big offer, he sadly is going to be moving on. It'd be amazing if the likes of Atalanta and Southampton and the other teams linked just don't pay that fee, because then he can hopefully stay for another season. But in terms of the Shea Charles stuff, personally, it's not for me. I don't know, some of you might have seen him and say that he's the next Zidane or something like that. He is a midfielder, by the way, and plays a similar role to Matt O'Reilly. I would say that if Southampton want to sign him, pay the money. Apparently you have that money down south. Just away from the O'Reilly stuff, my general point here is that it's frustrating. I think that we're talking about players potentially leaving the club rather than guys coming in, and that's what's been reported at the moment. I think in the lead up to the season, where we're all quite excited generally about what we've seen on the pitch so far, with the pre-season games in America, it's been really positive. It's a shame that we've not got stuff off the pitch to be talking about and getting excited about players potentially coming in. The Paulo Bernardo stuff just continues to drag on. From all the reporting, that's done. He is going to be announced by Celtic, but will it be today? Will it be tomorrow? Will it be next week? The Adamida stuff at this stage is just quite frustrating for everyone. I think a lot of people are kind of come to the conclusion they don't think it's going to happen. Personally, I do still think we'll sign Adamida, but I totally understand why a lot of people are just kind of fed up at this stage and want to move on. But yeah, without repeating myself, and without making things sound all gloomy, it's just frustrating how long it's taken Celtic to do business. With all that money in the bank, we've only spent £1 million so far, and we're a few days out from the competitive football starting. If you'd have told us that at the start of the window, I think people would rightly have been, very unhappy about that, and people are obviously unhappy the way things have played out. Celtic can still get this right in August. The window doesn't shut until I think it's 11:30 on the 30th of August for Scotland. They still have a number of weeks to get this right, and part of me deep down still wants to kind of have the glass half full approach and think, yeah, okay, we're just leaving it a little bit late. We've still got time to get a left back, centre back, winger, forward, Bernardo announced. But that's how I felt last season as well, and as I say, that obviously didn't work out well last season. I think it would have been great to get players in during pre-season and get them up to speed, because that was an issue we had last year with a number of players who we brought in late in the window and then they took time to get up to speed during the season. It would have been great if the club had just showed that same ambition and efficiency that they did under the previous manager, where players were coming in early, and you kind of question, why isn't that the case now? I think we all have some answers in the back of our mind as to why that isn't the case. As I say, they still have time to get it done, but it's deeply frustrating, isn't it, as supporters, that we don't see anything happening. And even the reports that we get, you kind of hear about a player's name like Daryl O'Shea or Hugo Bueno, or Mikael Ange Balak-Wisha, and then you don't hear anything else for a number of days. So yeah, that's where we're at the moment. We have the money. We have, I think, a really good manager. I think we have a team who look really good, albeit in pre-season, and we just need to add quality in a few positions that we all know about, and I think we can go on and have a really good season. It's all about the UEFA Champions League for me. It's all about competing at that level, and I think trying to get through to the knockout rounds of the UEFA Champions League, top 24 out of the 36 teams do that. I think that should be the challenge for Celtic. You're probably looking at something like 7-8 points from your 8 matches. You know, it's tough at that level, but I think that should be the very clear aim for Brendan Rodgers and the club, to get to that level, to get those points, to get through to the knockouts in February. And I think if we do all that, the domestic stuff just takes care of itself. I really think that's the case. Put yourself up as a Champions League club rather than a Scottish Premiership club, and the Premiership stuff will take care of itself. If you have a team that can compete at that level in the Champions League, we will win the Premiership comfortably, given what's going on at other clubs. Maybe that's still the ambition. I've no doubt that's the ambition of Brendan Rodgers and the players, to compete at that level and get results. You sometimes question with the board whether that really is the ambition, or are they looking more locally at what Celtic can achieve. Anyway, that's where we're at the moment, everyone. Things can change, of course. Let me know your thoughts on the moment and the transfer window, ahead of another, no doubt, fruitless day for Celtic. In other news, Celtic announced yesterday that the club had received a reduced allocation of 2,930 tickets for our trip to Easter Road a week on Sunday. Now, for our last visit there in January, the Adam Ida game, we received 3,624 tickets, the full away stand. So that's been reduced. I make it around 20% from that match to the one in, about 10 days' time. This is not a major shock. Hibs announced in January that they would be doing this after receiving complaints from their supporters following a game against Rangers. It's yet more evidence of the death of the away day as far as Celtic fans are concerned in Scottish football. They join Rangers, Hearts, Kilmarnock, Motherwell, St Mirren, Aberdeen. Have I missed anyone else? Possibly, you'll let me know. Teams that have reduced the away allocations of Celtic over recent years. And the frustrating thing for me is those seats are going to lie empty at Easter Road when the game is on Sky next weekend, and it's all just going to look a bit daft. I've spoken many times over the years about, for me, the main thing Scottish football has going for it is the supporters and the passion the supporters have and the colour they bring and the noise they bring to games. This isn't a tourist league like that league down south can be so much of the time. This is like proper passion up here, where games will and results will determine how people feel for the rest of the week. That kind of passion that, you know, other countries have it in bits. I think everyone feels it in Scottish football. Sure, we're not the biggest country, but like the numbers we get to go to games for the size of our countries is pretty remarkable. SPFL always want to wheel out that stat about the highest attended football league per capita. And it gets a bit much, but that's the point. So I just find it remarkable that, or maybe not remarkable, that clubs want to turn away supporters from going to games and would rather have empty seats than supporters there, and that's what these clubs are about. And I know they're entitled to do what they want because it's their stadiums, but when does like the greater good of Scottish football come into these things? And by the way, Celtic are at fault for this as well. I think it's a complete embarrassment that most home games you go to domestically, there'll be thousands of empty seats spread around Celtic Park, yet the club will have called it a sellout in the days leading up to the game. I think they need to get some sort of seat exchange kind of system in place. Other clubs can do it. I just don't get why Celtic aren't doing it. The club clearly don't have an interest in doing it at this stage. So we're to blame for this as well. But yeah, the whole Hibs thing is just disappointing. As I say, the continued slow death of the away day in Scottish football. When do things reach a point where like Celtic say something about it or make some sort of stand? I mean, like for Tynecastle last year, it was like 500 tickets we got. Just a bit of a joke. And what happens when things get to the point of no return? Does Celtic look elsewhere for the football? As in, at some stage, does playing in some sort of European league mean more to Celtic than Scottish football will be, especially if this is the stance of certain clubs? Yeah, all cheery today. The good news is that Celtic are back in a number of days against Kilmarnock, as I say, just buzzing to watch the game and see what kind of start the team are going to make to the season. I get the impression from the way they attacked those pre-season games that we're going to be itching to get going on Sunday, and hopefully we can get a big victory and ideally go to the top of the league in the first weekend and hopefully not look back. So lots to be positive about. I think lots to be improved on as well at Celtic, and as I've just spoken about, Scottish football as well. Yeah, we'll have Stevie back on the channel tomorrow to discuss a number of issues, including his upcoming holiday. Where's he going again? It's that city with the lakes. What's it called? Venice. Is it Venice? Yeah. Lakes. I mean, rivers. No streets, etc. Yeah. We'll chat to Stevie tomorrow, everyone. Bye.